all right, this is like all starting to add up. It's almost like that scene in Swingers where the guy just calls consistently. That's what I started to feel like.
You're alone again. I shouldn't be thinking of you, thinking of me. I know.
Greetings, everyone. This is Mike, and this is the dailyBred podcast where I talk to you from my apartment in Raleigh, North Carolina, which I just got back to because I took a 2-week trip up to the coast. And so I just got in, and it's been a minute since I've done a podcast because I've been super busy with projects for my company, drive80.com, drive80.com. Great explainer videos that help explain what you do in 60 seconds or 90 seconds or less. 60 to 90 seconds or less. I'm really good at that elevator pitch. And so today, I think I'm eventually going to talk about the trip and all the stuff I did. But today, I just want to talk about the thing that's like top of mind right now. And that's how you can have good intentions to do one thing and then come out looking like a fucking moron by doing it. And so this is a story that happened recently, and I met up with someone who I've talked about before, and we hadn't seen each other in a minute, and it was really good to see them, and it felt like things kind of clicked, or it had ended, and it felt like things just through. I thought we were just going to meet and it was going to be cool, and then we just kept extending time and hanging out with each other more, and it was awesome. And then we parted ways, and I was going to stay. I was supposed to be back today, so I am back today, but I was kind of through that, kind of passed it along to said person that I could stay, and they were like, I don't really know, that's a good idea. I think we're at a good place now, and so I was like, oh, let me just go against the instinct of not showing up, and let me just show up the next day at their place and see, just to say hello one more time, and leave. And so I left where I was, and I drove to their place, which was a little bit of a distance of where I was staying before. I'm being very vague about this, just because I'm just trying to be vague about it, but you get kind of the gist of this. So basically, I was supposed to leave this week and then start kind of making my way back home. And I was like, well, let me take a small detour and just kind of throw caution on the wind and go see them and just see if we can hang out a little bit longer before I come home. And so I kind of just, without announcing it, I just drove. So I left and I drove, and I get to their place, and I wasn't able to get inside to knock on the door and surprise them, so I ended up sending a text. And before I did that, I was driving there, and I just picked up like a rose just to kind of have something, I don't know, just to be, I guess, romantic, or that's pretty much it. It was just to kind of show up there, see them, and then present the rose and say, like, I figured I would just take my shot. So I had this all planned in my head, and I was super excited, and then I get there, and I couldn't get in the apartment building, so I ended up texting, like, hey, I just happen to be outside your place. No response, and I'm sitting there like, okay, they're probably sleeping, even though it was like 10 o'clock in the morning. And so then I text again, like, maybe this is a bad idea. And let me find what I did here. So I was like, hopefully you're home. And then, that was a couple minutes after that. And then I kind of just gave a phone call to be like, okay, maybe they're sleeping, or maybe their phone's on silent or something like that. And no response. And then I'm starting to feel a little bit stupid. So I just kind of text back like, this is probably not a good idea. So I'm sitting outside just kind of holding this rose at 10:30 in the morning. And even if it just came down to seeing them and presenting this to her and then just being like, look, like that's good enough, and then just like giving them a hug and then just like leaving. Like that would have been totally fine. But I figured like if I'm around where I'm typically not, it's like, hey, like why not? Let's just hang out for the day and just have a day. And so I ended up taking a walk down the street, and I was like, okay, I'll just, because it's looking a little bit weird that I'm just like hanging out in front of this person's place and they're not coming out to talk to me. So I go to a park and I'm sitting there and I kind of tell myself, I'm like, all right, let me hang here until like noon at the latest, and just try. And maybe, I'm thinking like they're sleeping or, they'll wake up. And so then I send another text again. And so it's like you kind of have to strategically spread out these texts before you start looking like a fucking idiot. And also like your call. So that's like I'm trying to call as well, and that's not going through. So I'm like, all right, this is like all starting to add up. It's almost like that scene in Swingers where the guy just calls consistently. That's what I started to feel like. And so basically I was like, hey, just let them know. I was at this park. I was like, in case you wake up, just let me know. And I basically said, I hope this doesn't make me look crazy. So I waited until noon and no response. So I took off and I was like, hey, I'm taking off. And then I'm driving and I'm not getting any response. So then it's, hey, I hope you're okay. No response. And then try calling again. And then I try to leave a voicemail and the voicemail box is full. So now I'm starting to just get like worried, like, oh my God, this is like, I don't think I'm getting blown off. I think, maybe something bad has happened. So now I'm getting concerned as I'm driving home. And so then I wait, I just keep checking my phone as I'm driving because it's a pretty decent drive. And I check again and like no response. So then the texts start going like, hey, I'm getting a little concerned here. I'll be on the road for a while. Just let me know you're okay. And then more time passes, almost like another hour. And it was just like, hey, just let me know shit's cool. And then finally get a response that they basically they got up that morning and had to go do something. And it was kind of like an emergency. And I was like, oh, thank God, like you're okay. And so I just kind of respond with that. And then just recapping, thinking that I look like a total psychopath. And then leave it like that. And then now there's like really kind of just radio silence right now. No idea why. But yeah, it's like funny when you kind of unintentionally go on this trip basically to just see family and friends, and this happened to be a bonus along the way to see someone, and didn't think anything of it. And obviously from the past there was a connection there that I think we both had thought was there, and it was just kind of it's presented itself by hanging out. And I think I just might have read too much into it, thinking like, I mean, I didn't really think of this was, I don't know, like I just really it reiterated to me of just living in the moment, because I'm sick of trying to think of the future, because anything that I've thought about like that is it just has created its own path in a different way. And it was very obvious to me that I was like, I think I want to start living in the moment and not do things based on what the future is going to hold, because like what I just said, like I don't fucking know. And it was kind of cool it felt a little liberating to let myself really be in that moment. But if you're like that and the other person's not, the headspace isn't there, then it's not really going to work out too well. But I did not think it was going to, this scenario that I just explained was not the one in my head as I was driving there. As I'm driving there, I thought of two things. One, the door was going to open and I was going to just basically say, like, I took a chance, and it was either going to go, thanks for coming, that's it, like, it was good seeing you, like, goodbye, and I would have been fine with that, just for one last moment to see them. Or it was going to turn to, you made the right decision. Like, now let's hang out. And that was what I was thinking. I was not thinking that there was going to be silence, and for a good reason of why there was silence. So that basically hung out with me when I was driving, continuing on my travels. And yeah, so it was a bummer. It was a total bummer, but it was a story that I felt, even though the way I presented it, it's probably not the best way to say it, but it was one of those things where I just had to just I don't know, I had to just tell the story, and I had to just put it out there because I'm not really good at just keeping things inside, as you may have noticed from listening to any other episode. So that is what I wanted to talk about today. And the trip was good, and it was a good experience, and there's literally nothing, and I wrote in the comic today, there's nothing like getting out of your car when you've been in it for a long time, just getting back home. And it felt really fucking good to get home. But now as I'm sitting here, I'm like just pushing off responsibility till tomorrow to get back into doing projects and things like that, just because I need a breath. I need like a minute to just be home. And there's definitely something to be said when you love the place that you live and you don't want to leave, and there's certain things around that could potentially make you leave, and you second guess if where you're staying is where you should be, and then you go on a journey and you go far away from home, and it just kind of reinforces that this is exactly the right choice you made, even though there's certain things that are affected by that decision which suck. But it's, I don't know, just being on the road and thinking about home, and then enjoying the moment where I was at with all the people that I got to see again, and now to be home, it just feels really fucking good. But I definitely wish that scenario of showing up unannounced would have worked out way better. And I really hope that it didn't make me look like an idiot. Because it was just, in my head, it's sitting there, showing up unannounced, kind of making a hint that I was going to do it, and them saying it's probably not a good idea, and then showing up unannounced, and then getting silence, and just being like, okay, well, it's like you're probably asleep, and then no, then more silence, and you're like, I really hope this wasn't a bad idea. So you're timing out your text to be like, am I just overloading their inbox right now where I look crazy? And then you're calling because you think that they're not getting the text, so the call would wake them up because you think they're sleeping. No response, and then you're just sitting, and you find a park to sit at that's close by, and sitting there the whole time being like, what am I doing? Like, I still think this is a good idea, so I'm going to hold on to this. And then as the time is clicking closer and closer to where you mentally stated you're going to leave, you're getting a little bit more bummed out, like, oh man, like, and reality starts setting in that this is just not going to work out anywhere near what you thought it was going to look like. And then it didn't. And then all of a sudden it flips into, well, now I'm concerned that there's no response. So then it goes into, now I'm going to text and call more just to make 100% sure, even though I look like an idiot, that you're okay. Because it flips from you're ignoring me, or it has to be something else, to, oh my God, like now I'm concerned that you are in trouble. And then they're not. And then you have this whole documented conversation where you're thinking like, oh, I hope they look at the times and realize that it was spaced out slightly, and that it didn't fuck anything up. So yes, so that's what I wanted to discuss today, and so I'm going to leave it at that, and hopefully I will keep doing more episodes in a row, even though I've taken a bit of a break for a couple weeks. Might even be over a month. I forget when the last time I posted, but so yeah, so nothing to promote except for sometimes good intentions don't really work out. What you think are good intentions it could have a whole different path that it's going to take, even though the scenarios you're building in your head could be the only possible ones. Then there's sometimes just a curveball that gets thrown in there, and you're like, didn't see that fucking coming. So, something to think about, but I don't think that means that anyone shouldn't try. It's just, you'll, as bad as it seems, you'll still live. So I'm still alive, and I feel like an idiot. But if it keeps me from doing anything like that again, then I'll be more of an idiot. So, something to think about. Goodbye.